So I'm really pleased to be joined today by Coalville Kitchens, or Team Coalville Kitchens I should say. We have Joe, we have Luke, we have Eve and we have Amanda. So today is all about giving back smart tips and solutions to the KBB industry. So guys, before we start today's conversation and discussion, what's Coalville known for?
Well, do you know what? We talked about this briefly earlier, and I instantly think, well, Coalville, the kind of the clues there, isn't it? It's a mining town, but then Amanda brought something up. What did you say?
Action Man, Care Bears, figurines, Palatoy.
So that's to do with the toys. So there's a company called Palatoy, is that right?
It was.
They had a big factory here, and they used to make all of those Action Man figures.
Okay, so it's a manufacturing and a mining town.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
And also a kitchen retailing town.
Yeah, Coalville Kitchens is put Coalville on the map, obviously.
100%. With Coalville Kitchens, there are 6 work colleagues who are female, Luke, is that correct?
I am completely outnumbered in the showroom.
Okay.
By pure coincidence and chance, maybe, or maybe there's a subconscious thing there. But no, there's in the office, in the showroom, there's me. Mm-hmm. There's Joe, who's our showroom manager. Okay. There's Eve, who's a design consultant. There's Amanda, who's a design consultant. Okay. There's Jade, who's not here. Yeah. She's a design consultant. Okay. There's Kate, who's the joint director. And then there's Penny, who's a finance manager.
Definitely outnumbered. So in the trade press currently, there's a lot of talk about females in the KBB industry. And as you all know, all sat around this lovely island here today, is that males tend to outnumber females in this industry. So what do you think females can bring to the customer journey?
I think that females understand the kitchen better and that it has to work. It's not just a design. It's got to work, and I think females, rightly or wrongly, do more in the kitchen. Right. So they understand how it needs to work as well as look nice and be designed as well.
So when you have, let's say, a typical husband and wife couple come into the showroom, what tends to be the differences of what's important to the husband and the wife? Does the husband like gadgets more so, potentially? And then
potentially,
you're saying the wife may like more practical aspects of the kitchen, is that what we're saying?
I think it's just being able to offer both, but you might be able to.
Yeah, when you sit down with a couple, it's working out. When you talk to them, you can normally find that if the husband is more gadget orientated, you can then show them how certain appliances work and things like that. But yeah, I think, like Joe said, it tends to be sort of the woman is perhaps likes the functionality more.
Right. Okay. The practical side.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think, you guys as predominantly female team, why are you different, do you think, to perhaps a competitor who's, let's say, all men?
That's a great question.
A very direct question.
So I'll answer from an employer's perspective. I think that having a design team and actually an in-house team that's female-led, it's so positive because of the design aspect. So when you talk about couples, which is a typical kind of client, he and a she come to buy a kitchen. As men, we tend to focus very much on price and how things are going to be done. But I think the females will often think about design and touch and feel things. And it's really nice to have a design consultant who's really in touch with that female side, that element. And you can build relationships that way. And in my experience, I think... and this is controversial. I just think the girls do a bad job. It's as simple as that.
Do you think that a female asking the questions in terms of the customer coming in the showroom would seem to be perhaps less selly because of the reason we've just said, potentially? More relaxed?
Yeah, I think we are less selly. We focus on the design first, get that right, and the kitchen really sells themselves.
So would you say, Amanda, to a customer, I'm not here to sell to, I'm here to advise you, and you can make up your own mind after the information that we've discussed? That's how you would almost say it.
You know, we ask the right questions, then we should get the right answers, and design their kitchen. It's not just any kitchen.
Right. Where I guess some retailers would almost tell the customer what they're having, which you do find, don't you? I'm really keen to find out, everybody, how does somebody understand how to get into the KBB industry? So if I could ask you, Eve, when you left school, did you decide to be a kitchen designer?
No.
How do you do it?
I studied as an interior designer,
I put myself through night school to do a degree.
Self-learning?
Yeah,
okay.
To do a degree in interior design and lighting design. I then worked for a couple of smaller companies in the attempt to get into a bigger organisation.
So how did you get your first job? Did you see an advert online
Yes.
somewhere? Yeah.
It was an advert, and I applied for that, and trying to hone my skills every time, learn something new that I could then take on to somebody else.
Okay.
And then wanted to work for a bigger organisation to then work on my sort of almost like more business-like skills to understand how big corporations work and to continue doing what I was doing.
Okay.
And then once you're in, you tend to be able to then find out through different channels sort of availability of positions, jobs coming up. Sometimes it's by chance.
Yeah.
You meet somebody who knows somebody. And working where I worked in quite a large company, a lot of creative people all had different creative outlets, so people would introduce you to other people.
Okay. So I guess what you said, I think in the first couple of sentences there, was the fact that self-learning was important to you when you first came to the industry.
Definitely.
To build your own self-worth up for
Yes.
future employers. That's a good bit of advice perhaps we could give back to the KBB trade, yeah?
Yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
Does anybody else have any stories in terms of how they got to the industry and how they progressed with that industry? Anybody else would like to?
Well, I think Joe and indeed Amanda, before they started working for us here at Coalville Kitchens, didn't have any kitchen experience.
Right, okay.
And as I suppose most business owners who are watching these podcasts will know, that you hire on character first and then you upskill.
Attitude, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And although Joanne didn't come with any kitchen experience, she now has 9 years experience and has design experience, has ordering experience, has management experience. And it's the same with Amanda as well. Amanda came to us with no experience, but now is a highly skilled and a very experienced design consultant. And it's interesting that we would always hire on character as opposed to experience.
So is there any bit of advice you could summarise in terms of somebody young that's just left school and thinking, I'd like to do something that's creative? How would that person find out about a career in KBB?
I think being proactive is really important. If we were looking for an apprentice, whether it be a designer or an installer, and we had to advertise and get people through the door, that's great. But if somebody came and knocked on the door one day and said, I'm really keen on becoming a designer or an apprentice, we'd keep their details. Then when the time was right, they would be top of the list. The people who are proactively looking and knocking on independent retailers and saying, if anything ever comes up, please keep us in mind.
So that's great advice, Luke. So what we're saying is some of the can-do attitude is prepared to go and speak and embrace and engage somebody. Yeah?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, great advice. One of the things that we notice when we look at retailer websites is that they're vastly different. And I think for anybody now in today's marketplace, it's all about being proactive, fresh, up to date, and giving the consumer as much information as you can to want them to come into your showroom. So looking at your website, which is very good and very more modern and up to date and hits the spot. One of the things I particularly liked was the booking facility for a customer to come into the showroom. And the question I had really was that conceived during lockdown, and have you seen an uptake in the number of appointments you make using that system since lockdown?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think COVID's taught us a lot. It's taught us a lot about marketing and how we do things, and the website, it needs to serve a purpose and it needs to make sure that it's flexible enough to cater for everybody's needs. So the virtual appointment booking is on there for people who are busy and they can't get into the showroom. And there's also a booking appointment on there where you can book an appointment for the showroom and have the whole showroom to yourself.
Can you just go back on the virtual showroom? So just what specifically is a virtual appointment? Explain what that means.
So what they would do is they would book a virtual appointment online. That email automatically gets fed through to one of the team members. They will then pick it up, they'll get in contact with the person and arrange essentially a Zoom meeting. And the Zoom meeting will be on a laptop in the showroom. It's a face-to-face chat. You can talk about
the first meeting online. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. A time to suit the customer. And if needs be, because it's on the showroom and a laptop, you can have a walk around and show some doors and show some, and it's a real great first point of contact. It's almost like a micro consultation.
Yes.
And you can get a lot of information from those people, and it serves them. Some people don't like it. Some people, there's a certain market that people don't like to sit in front of a computer and they want to come in. So we have to cater for all markets.
Yeah.
But the virtual appointments, it needs to be there because we need to offer flexibility to all clients that are on that website.
Yeah, sure. Do you think that by offering a virtual appointment or an appointment booking system online would attract people from further afield potentially?
Dubai.
Fantastic. What a great answer to the question. Dubai, fantastic. And can you explain, Amanda, what happened in that situation?
Well, I couldn't go to them.
You were
Unfortunately,
expenses didn't allow. That's it.
No, so so they're over in Dubai. They live in this country, working over there, and it was just easy. They couldn't make it in that day, so I did it online instead. It does have its challenges, though.
Yes.
I must admit, it is hard. I much prefer the person face to face.
Yes, because you can read
in the
people
showroom.
differently, can't you? When it's face to face.
Absolutely.
But
Which we all agree on that. Yeah.
that particular one, they loved it. It was very good.
And did you get the order?
Did I get the order? It's ongoing.
Oh, it's work in progress.
It's a work in progress.
It's a work in progress. Fantastic. Yeah. In business, it's so important to understand your business differences. So when a customer comes in the showroom, why would the customer continue to want to go through the process with you guys than the competition? So what would you say at Coalville that your top 3 differences or your unique selling points are that you would talk to a customer very quickly when they come in the showroom? What would you say your differences are?
I would say customer service.
Okay.
We're quite different to a lot of other showrooms I've been to or worked at before. We're an appointment only. But if somebody wanted to come in off the street and just want to come and have a browse round, we're still open for that so that people can come in. But it's giving the customer that feeling that they are the most important person when you're sat with them, giving a consultation or showing them around, that they are your priority. You're not going to just nip off and answer the door or answer the phone. You're there for them and you're taking on board everything they're telling you. And I think, to me, I find that really, really engaging because you get to really understand and know your customer in a nice environment then.
So the customer will deal with you for the whole process?
Yes.
Okay. So how many people that have you had that have had a kitchen off you and said, you must come for dinner? Does that ever happen?
For coffees
Afterwards, yeah.
yes.
It's very difficult to say no, isn't it?
Yeah, which has been really nice when the kitchen's done.
Yeah.
Go out and see them and have a look.
And when the kitchen is done, do you do anything here after sale to say thank you to the customer? What sort of things would you do?
I mean, there's a system and process in place where automatically, when the kitchen's finished, they will get flowers and chocolates from us as a thank you, really, to say, well, you trusted us. You gave us a substantial amount of your money to install your kitchen. So we always make sure that there's a little cherry on the top with some flowers and some chocolates and a card from the team to say thanks for the order, and you know where we are. If there's any issues, we're always going to be here at the end of the phone. And when they do call with any issues, we're out there as soon as we can. And if we do our job properly and it's as smooth as it possibly can be for the clients, then at the end of the day we want them to recommend us anyway. Okay,
brilliant. So what other things, apart from the customer service, do you think that you could offer a customer which you think is probably different from most competitors? What things are you doing that are unique to you guys here? What other things?
We use our own installers. They're directly employed by us. They drive our vans and they wear our t-shirts. Okay. And it's I think that's quite unique in the world we live in now.
So you've got the control.
Yeah.
That's a big part, isn't it? So what you're saying is that in the early introduction to how you provide that service, you explain that the control is there and that Joanne and your project management side will take care of that customer journey.
Yeah.
With your speciality here, which is primarily retail, okay, and that's what you're geared up is to give a great service for retail customers. What advice can you give anybody watching when, let's say, you have a developer come into the showroom and say, well, I've got 19 kitchens here, would you like to quote me on these? What advice could you give on those kind of inquiries?
I think sometimes it can be very tempting as a retailer when you have something land on your desk for 19 apartments. You think, well, this is great, this is going to be brilliant. But ultimately, I think developers quite rightly are buying on price. And if your business isn't set up for that, i.e. if you're not set up for volume, then it actually can be quite detrimental to the business to do something like that, because you're going to have to lower your price, because of course the builder wants a discount, but you're not paying your staff any less. So it can be a little bit of a tricky balancing act. We don't personally do any development work anymore because of all our installers are geared up to deal with domestic retail clients, and we pay them accordingly.
Sure.
So it would be a different model, different business model to deal with developers, which I know other retailers do successfully.
So I guess the advice is if you do have that temptation, do take that risk, because sometimes it could be a risk, is that it could dilute the resources you have, which of course include installation, so somebody else might not get that special service.
Absolutely.
We don't want to upset you, Joe, do we? Across all the trade press, everyone's talking about appliances. When will the supply situation improve? Are retailers going to continue to use their cash flow to finance the gaps and the delays that you're all experiencing? How do you tell a customer up front that there could be an issue to try and condition people, or don't you do that?
We didn't in the beginning because we'd got a bit of a back order of where I'd had to source appliances online. I kept our trade orders going, so we had a bit of a backup. So we sort of thought we're going to get something come in.
Did you have to buy stock, Joe? Did you?
Yeah.
You had to buy stock, so you had to use your cash to buy stock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think now that it's got sort of so bad with...
It hasn't improved?
No, it's got worse.
Interesting.
And
do you get a reason for why that's worse from your suppliers? Do you actually get tangible reasons why there's a situation?
No, not really. It's just being honest with them and just saying that, that certain manufacturers, I won't name them, are struggling to keep up with demand and production. And I think now you have to be honest, because if they want a particular oven, you can't guarantee that you're going to be able to fulfil it for them. So it's offering them something else, and it's selling another product and offering more benefits for that product to get them engaged and think, oh well, actually
upgrading a customer potentially. Yeah. If we go on to the communication aspect, so appliance issue is an issue for many people. And I've heard personally lots of horror stories where people are really struggling in business because they're not getting the final balance, and that's difficult. The one thing that I understand is that it's the same as everyone in the conversation. There isn't there's tangible reason. So I'm really keen to find out how you communicate this to the customer. So I guess when there was the pandemic, it was more easy to explain the reasons why there were these issues. So if I'm the customer coming in, Joe, what's the message that you're telling me?
That they're struggling with manufacture, and that there's certain components that they're struggling to make, particularly ovens and microwaves.
Right.
That's what they're sort of saying to us.
So you guys as a team have to give more communication, as probably more often, to keep the customer informed if they are wanting to wait. To make sure that they're happy. That's what you're having to do, aren't you? So are you getting that information from your supply chain?
We get some information, but some of the dates that they give us are still like it will be confirmed, and we just have to make sure at the point that the customer orders with us, if they are adamant that they're wanting those particular appliances, that we say we will do our utmost to get it as soon as possible, and we'll keep you informed every step of the way. Are you happy to wait when I can't give you a definite date? Okay. And as long as they're informed and they're happy to do that, then...
So it's always about the cliche communication.
And ultimately I think as retailers we've been left high and dry. Right. We've been left completely in the dark. Right. If, for example, a manufacturer cannot promise the delivery of a certain appliance, whoever it might be, they shouldn't say it's available to order. Right. And that's been the problem. Yeah. The problem's being that certain manufacturers are saying, yes, this oven or this hob is available to order, please place the order, we just can't guarantee delivery, or delivery might be this certain time. And we can relay that information back to our customers and be open and honest. But then those dates pass. Right. And we still have customers with holes in their kitchen where they're waiting for appliances because we've been promised certain dates and those deadlines have gone. So it's frustrating.
Is there any advice, Luke, that you could offer in terms of, would you advocate doing a separate contract for the appliances to the furniture, or do you do the whole contract as well?
Yeah, that's difficult for the design consultants because their job, which they do very well, is to offer a complete package. And at the end of the day, we want to give our clients one figure.
Peace of mind.
We take care of everything. And it would be very difficult for them to do their job properly if they had to say, well, this is the kitchen and the project, but the appliances are on a separate piece of paper because we can't guarantee we're going to deliver them. So,
what's the solution? What is the solution in this situation? It could go on potentially for many more months by the sound of it.
Yeah. I think our solution in-house has been to be more diverse in the range we offer. And that came from KBB at Birmingham. We went to KBB and the guys had a real good look around. They came back and gave me some feedback and said, we've had a real good chat with lots of manufacturers, and there's one manufacturer in particular we really like to use. Maybe we could put that brand in the showroom, and we did, and that's gone really well. And so I think it's about taking the blinkers off and opening up and saying, right, let's be a little bit more diverse, let's talk about different brands, different products, and let's see if the customers are kind of warming to them. And they have, and it's worked really well.
Which we said right at the very beginning of the conversation, that you have to have a diverse range of products to make sure that you give that service. So that's where you've had to become in terms of your strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. So on that, every cloud has a silver lining, right?
Of course. Within KBB and customers coming in, the customer has to feel very confident that you know your stuff. How do you as a team self-develop, and how, Luke, do you encourage the team to train?
The most important thing is product knowledge.
Okay.
And the offering for that, which is quite good and supportive, is manufacturers have got their own retail space and their own training spaces. And we've been lucky enough to go over to Germany and look at the retail space there and have training there. And also the UK manufacturers as well. I've got some great marketing suites and showrooms that they offer training to. And a refresh of product knowledge is always good. It's great to take the team out of the day-to-day working and close the showroom for the day and go and do that.
Customers coming in, sometimes it's about product and price is not important, but sometimes price is very, very important. But obviously we don't want to waste time designing a dream kitchen that nobody can afford. So it's a great question that everybody asks, is how do you ascertain budget, and should you ascertain budget?
It's worth knowing, definitely, because there's no point in telling somebody or showing somebody you can have this, they fall in love with it. We're good at what we do. But if they can't afford it, it's almost cruel. So knowing what they have to spend, because if £10,000-15,000 is a lot of money, £25,000 is a lot of money. But so you need to know where to go and where to guide people, really, because we can still give you an absolutely fantastic.
So would you price condition customers by saying, well, this project we've done previously was 15, this was 20, this one was 35, and ascertain their reactions? Is that how you tend to do it?
Yeah, so Eve, do you want to talk about how we do the consultation and what we do at the end of the consultation?
Yes, so when a customer comes in, they've already had a telephone call with either one of us guys or Kate, and they've gone through the introduction, and then they come in and we'll have a full consultation with them, and we talk to them about what sort of products they're looking for. We like to build like a living mood board, so we'll get
So you have a consultation pre-qualification phone call before they come to the appointment, so make sure that everyone's going to be happy when you get together. Okay, I understand that.
So then they'll come in and we'll talk to them about their project, what they're looking to do. Like I say, build like a living mood board for them. So we'll get worktops, flooring samples, talk to them about all different, they'll talk about colour. Right. So you can pull all sorts of things into that. Then Amanda and I tend to do a sketch.
Okay.
So they'll
just
bring
an outline sketch.
Yeah, they'll bring some measurements in with them, and we'll sketch out a design with them. We often like to give them a pencil, don't we, and say, join in, and they'll.
You still get millimetres and inches and all combinations of both.
All sorts, but we get them involved with the design that we're trying to pull together, so they feel really involved in it's their kitchen, as Amanda said before. It's their home. We're not designing a generic for them, it's specific to them. And then at the end of that, we have all the previous jobs that we've done, we have files. So of different sizes of kitchens, different ranges.
You take pictures after the event.
Yeah.
Can you like a testimonials book where you show people that
Yes.
written thank you letters and cards and so forth, and do all that?
We have all the cards in the showroom,
Okay.
but with regard to giving an indicative guide, so we can say, here's a job we did of a similar range, the size is the same, they had an appliance pack of this amount, and then you can give them a guide and say your kitchen would be this between these prices.
Do customers always give you the true budget?
I think it's a great question, but it's tricky because of what Eve was saying of how we do things a little bit differently here at Coalville Kitchens. Because we don't actually ask for a budget, we just tell them what it's going to cost. So we don't say to them, we kind of flip it around. We don't say, what's your budget? We always say, come in, sit down with us. Let's spend an hour completely free of charge. We'll get a mood board, we'll ask you what you want, what you need, and we'll give you an indicative cost. And then when we give the indicative cost, if that isn't within your budget, people will be honest and say, actually, that was a little bit too much. So then, as Amanda alluded to, we'll guide them. We'll say, well, maybe you should go to a different retailer, or maybe a bigger kind of a bigger showroom. But if not, if they say yes, that budget is healthy, then we'll move forward.
You're asking the right questions then, so you're giving the customer solutions, but by doing it that way, what we're saying is that potentially they may spend more money with you, and of course they could go and finance themselves anyway, and sometimes they wouldn't tell you that. They might then come back and then go for that dream kitchen because of the way you've done the process. That's what we're saying you do here.
Absolutely.
You don't say, what's your budget, is it 15,000, say, by the way, your kitchen's 14,000, you're in budget. You don't do that.
No.
Right, okay, good. Support is a big thing in business. You choose to partner with certain manufacturers and you would expect a certain level of support, and sometimes things go wrong, and that's when that support should step up. What would you say is the biggest frustration when dealing with sales managers, or are there no frustrations and you get 100% service?
It's a great question. One thing I love about COVID, and we had to close the doors, is that these sales guys can't just call in and keep on interrupting you on a daily basis, which is what used to happen.
Right. So most would turn up without an appointment pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID, they would turn up without an appointment and stop you from doing your daily thing. But I suppose now it's a lot different. There are some reps that are outstanding. We've got to be honest. There's some guys and girls that are wonderful, and there are others that you don't see anything of at all. So it's a real mixed bag. But I must say that I feel like we've been very lucky with the manufacturers we've chosen to deal with, and I think the guys have had good support when needed. But equally, without naming names, we have some horror stories of some people that haven't been so good.
Right.
And Joe, being our showroom manager, deals with sales reps more than most of us.
Okay.
And you've been quite frustrated at times, haven't you?
Do you have any advice then, Joe, for any, let's say, sales directors watching this film about what they should be saying to their sales managers in terms of preparation, in terms of professionalism, in terms of support? What things could a sales director say to their team to make a difference?
I think it's just they need to just engage more. They need to treat us as almost like as we treat our clients. They need to be seen to be looking after us and to doing what we need, not just coming in saying there's the new products.
Right.
I feel like they're trying to sell all the time.
Right. Too much selling rather than being a business advisor.
Yeah, not sort of helping as much with product knowledge when they come in, and if we've got a query on a design that you're struggling with to get it right for the client, often you don't get the help that you might want.
You wanted, yeah. Are you seeing Luke mentioned about people just dropping in pre-COVID? Are we seeing after COVID? Are we seeing more professional appointments being made then?
I certainly am.
Yeah.
I certainly am. There's less people who knock on the door and interrupt now, and I think maybe that's a learning curve for those guys who've got a difficult job. If you're an ASO and you're out on the road all day and you've been told you've got to go and see so-and-so and they're busy or they're closed because they're appointment only, it's a difficult job for these guys. So I think they are, I don't know about you or if you guys have noticed, but more reps are calling ahead. and saying, are you available and can I pop in?
And that's also about knowing your retailer, isn't it? And knowing your market, knowing that it is an appointment only, or knowing that they're closed on a Tuesday or whatever. It's doing your research. We're an important commodity to them. So they should take, like Joe said, take as much care of us as we do our customers, and know your business, know where you're going. Just knocking on, just think, I was hoping you'd be in. But to make a professional appointment is better, because then we can give them the time. And I think we also have to take care of them as well, because whenever, if we need something in a hurry, or we need, if we needed a sample turning around quickly, if you've built a good relationship with your sales reps that are coming in, then you can call on them for or can you just get me this sample, or if you needed something quickly, you can take.
So the relationship's both ways, as you say. I'd like to pick up on a great point I think that Joe made there. So what Joe was saying was that too many sales management come into the showroom trying to sell. I'd be really keen to know how many sales managers come in to deliver professional training for you on the products they're selling, rather than trying to sell. So what percentage of sales managers want to spend time and go through the technical side and through why their product's different?
I would answer that by saying all of them want to.
Okay.
But not all of them can.
Interesting.
So all of them, I don't think I've come
train the
across.
trainer we're suggesting potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they want to, but they're stretched. They're probably all at capacity, and they've got so many retailers to hit in one day.
Okay.
And if they could spend,
So it's not an ability thing; it's a time factor. Yeah?
absolutely. I think so. Yeah, I think I would suggest that every single rep we have who's servicing Coalville kitchens at the minute is probably working at capacity, and they find it's a struggle to offer their time.
So maybe the advice could be to a manufacturer, potentially less calls per day but more quality calls, but give the agenda up front to the retailer about what you'd like to cover before turning up for the meeting.
Absolutely. I think it's needed to be like that for a long time.
Okay, great, good advice. What's the number one ask when a customer comes in the showroom now? What are they looking for at the minute? What's the trend?
It's
completely different.
It's completely different for every person who comes in.
Yeah,
it's
I
a
agree.
personal journey for them.
It is,
We're not here to say, you have to have this, you have to have this. It depends on their style, the style of their home. You wouldn't want to. Well, some people would want to put something super modern in a traditional building, but it is very personal choice.
Yeah, the guys will back me up. We still get clients in now. A typical Mr. and Mrs. And let's say, for example, Mrs. loves German, clean lines, really modern. Mr. loves very much shaker, painted, and there's that conflict all the time. So because we offer both, and we offer both really well, I think it really is split right down the middle. Although one thing does run all the way through both designs, and that's the colour grey.
Colour grey. Is this the cabinet?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So the customers coming are liking a grey cabinet.
Yeah, grey is still very much on trend.
Which could be common from British manufacturers or German now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so we're split on that 50-50. We've got behind you here, the concept of fresh air is quite important actually in design. People forget that you don't have to put a unit in a space, do you? So I'm going to ask guys, how do you change a customer's perception coming in? They just want 1,000 base practical kitchens, or do you think if they want that they should have it?
Yeah. I think it's about planting the seed and saying it does look great with all these 1,000 boxes, but if we just took one out and maybe had an open bookshelf there and reduced the depth of those base units, give you a little bit more space in, might feel a bit more open. Just planting the seed and almost making it feel like it was their idea. So they might give you a call in a few days. I've been thinking about what you said, and we agree. We're going to remove those wall units and we're going to take that and let them think it's their idea. And I think that's part of what a good design consultant should do.
So you're working with somebody. Somebody comes into the showroom, is it quite common they say, I don't know what I want? And if that's the case, where do you start? What part of the kitchen do you start? Do you start with the worktop, the handle, the colour of the wall, the colour of the floor? How do you start when someone says, I've no idea what I want?
When we sit down at consultation, I find once you start asking questions, what's your project? And you start getting them enthusiastic, it starts to evolve naturally with them, and they'll start, oh, you know, and I did quite like this, or
Right.
oh, here's a picture I took, or I've got this, and it does then start to evolve.
What a percentage of customers are coming in after looking at Pinterest with ideas? Because I understand that's getting busier and busier.
Quite a few, I'm finding.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're getting their advice, or they're getting their ideas or inspiration from online sources, and coming in, and they think in some cases they're already the expert potentially when they come in. Sometimes.
They do.
Yeah. And you have to politely say, actually, you can't do that, but then you propose doing this. That's quite an art, isn't
You
it?
can show them what they've asked though, and then you can show them why it won't work.
Right.
Yeah, if that's what they have in their head, it's hard for them to come away from it, and then you show them why you've designed it the way you have, talk them through it, and as long as make them understand why and why it would work instead of just putting boxes in.
Is there any advice you could offer, Amanda, when the customer brings in somebody else's plan and says, can you just quote me on this? What advice would you offer people watching about how they should handle that inquiry?
I don't want to give like for like quotes. It's somebody else's design, and if you like that design, why don't you get it from that person?
Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting.
I
There's an
tend
obvious
to
reason
not
why you
look
don't want to go to that person,
Yes.
but it's again, you are the person offering the service, and I guess you want that customer to be happy. And if that design isn't quite right, they may not be happy because it's not your design, is it?
No. And I tend to, if somebody brings somebody else's design in, I'll just say, don't show me.
Oh,
And then
right,
when we
that's
do
good
the
advice,
sketch
yeah.
outs,
Yeah.
I design it how I think it will work from them, following all the information they've given me. I'll draw it how I think, and then say, and then they'll start going, oh, that's very different to what I've seen before.
Right.
Because I'm not here to just, like Amanda said, we're not here to just pick up somebody else's design. We have our own creativity that we want to show these customers that we can do and what we can offer and what makes us different.
Yeah.
So I tend to just say, oh no, just keep that there.
So the advice is be original.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and to answer the question in regards to if somebody comes in and says we have no idea what we want, you kind of have to reverse that and go, well, let's find out what you don't want. And once you start showing them some doors, when somebody says we've got no idea what we want, we'll show them a door, a pink shaker door. We don't want that. Okay. So how about a grey slab door? Oh, that's quite nice. So they have an idea. You've just got to guide them in the right direction.
And on that point, Luke, would you say it's good advice to show a customer door finishes or things that are commercial but different that they can't find in the sheds, potentially?
Yeah, I think as independent retailers, that's part of our USP. We need to make sure we're different in some way.
If you were to propose a gloss white slab, that could be potentially purchased anywhere,
Yes.
couldn't it? So you understand that's probably not the best way to proceed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Be different.
Yeah, be different, go back to being original.
Absolutely. Yeah.
A massive conversation in the trade press is the need for apprentices to come into the industry, and the skills gap is getting wider as people retire. How have you embraced that need locally to give someone an opportunity and provide training?
So on the operation side of the business, on the install side of the business, we have 3 teams, and now within those teams we have 2 lovely apprentices. And they are very cheeky chappies, aren't they? They come in with a nice smile on their face and they're very polite.
Are we talking school leavers here?
College leavers.
College leavers?
Yeah,
Okay.
so this is guys who have left school, decided they want to do something with their hands, and they've done carpentry at college,
Okay.
and then the next step is to gain some employment with a training purpose. So we have a lovely lad called Kyle, who's been with us quite a while, and a new guy called Jacob, both very young. I mean, they are 18, but you sometimes look at them and think, I'm sure he's 12 at the best. But the feedback we get from the clients is that even clients love to see that as a company we're proactively employing apprentices. The clients will often say, the installers have been great, and isn't Jacob wonderful?
Right.
Or isn't Kyle just wonderful?
Yeah.
because they're very polite and they're well mannered and they know they're there to learn. So I think it's important to do your bits really for the industry as a whole, but equally from a selfish perspective, it's great growth for the business.
Yes.
We're teaching the next generation of installers that hopefully are going to be with us for a number of years and continue to install the kitchen.
Succession planning. Is there, Luke, enough information, do we think, in the industry to where someone can find out about apprenticeships and what standards are available?
No, I don't think there is.
Right.
I don't think there's anywhere near enough information. If somebody was to leave college or university and say, I'd love to get into the design world in regards to designing kitchens and interiors, I think it's a very difficult path. There's no direct route. It's not really. There needs to be more industry recognised qualifications.
Okay.
In the press recently, we know the degree's been dropped, the university degree for kitchen design, which is a big shame. I think there needs to be more of that, and I think it's something that people would grab hold of and run with. It needs more funding, it needs more recognition, more awareness, definitely.
Can we ask, how did Kyle and Jacob get their positions working here? How did that happen?
We had to advertise locally.
Okay, so you've advertised yourself, and I guess they've seen the advert, or is it through word of mouth potentially as well?
Yeah, I think probably a bit of both. So we've advertised on social media and spread the word and said we're looking for apprentices. Because again, from a social media perspective, from a business profile, if clients can see that you are looking for apprentices and you're willing to train people up, I think that's only a positive.
Yeah, it's a tick in the box, isn't it? Yeah, so spending money with you, that's absolutely, that's good advice for anyone listening. That's fantastic. Do you have a vision of what future kitchen retailing will look like? Let's say wind the clock forward 10 years.
What has changed in the last 10 years, I suppose? If you were to look backwards and measure backwards, essentially the nuts and bolts of the industry has stayed the same. We have designers, we have installers, and we offer the product. I think the biggest game changer that I can see is technology.
Technology?
I think technology, not only from a design perspective, but from particularly an appliance perspective. Who'd have thought 10 years ago you could turn your oven on your way home?
Right.
From a Wi-Fi perspective, or your dishwasher, when you're in Spain. Technology is really going to come into play, and I think in 10 years' time, we'll be doing things that we didn't think were possible.
Do you think, understanding technology, do you think we'll be selling kitchens differently? Is there going to be more online interaction in terms of the actual sale process?
What do you think, guys?
It'll be virtual. You can walk around your kitchen.
Yes, I think.
Sorry.
I think
More virtual reality.
Yeah, but I think definitely the human element I think is still very important.
Okay.
That connection with your customer is so important, because you get to know them over such a short period of time. You get to know them so well. But then I think Amanda's right, the virtual reality thing of being able to stand in a room and look around and look at your room complete.
Do you have that option today, or is that something you consider for the future?
Yeah, I think in the future, I think that's coming closer and closer. I don't think we're there yet. It's quite good enough to maybe get sales over the line. I think what we do in house is brilliant anyway, in regards to all the CAD design that the guys do. But yeah, I think in the future it's going to be something maybe industry standard. I remember, you might remember as well, maybe 20 years ago, CAD design wasn't a necessity. You could sell kitchens from a sketch, and then it became a necessity because other retailers were doing it. So I think the same's going to be with VR. I think it's going to be get to a point where even as an old school retailer, where I want bums on seats and I want people to meet our staff, I think it's going to get to a point where we're going to go, right, okay, so everybody's doing this now, so let's do it and see how beneficial it can be to the business.
So finally, what we'd like to ask is, could you all, before we finish today, relay an amusing story that other people could learn from?
How many times, it's amazing how many times a client has come into the showroom who is very well dressed and they look immaculate, and they talk about their property as if it is unbelievable. And then you go and do the site visit and it's absolutely filthy. How many times that happened, guys? And you think, well, this is interesting.
So never judge a book by its cover.
Absolutely not. There's always those clients that come and are very well to do, and then you go out to the house and think, oh wow, it's not exactly a palace, this place.
It's an interesting insight in how other people live
Yes.
and people's homes.
Yes.
Yeah, it really is.
And the impression they give off.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we always have a laugh. We were talking about this morning in regards to when a client. You mentioned budget. When a client comes in and says, "I've got this budget," and sometimes clients are quite rigid like that. I've got this budget, and that's how much I want to spend. We had that recently with a client. I won't name names, but they came in. We have this budget, and we went, "It's £15,000 a healthy budget, but for what you want, it's going to be more like 23, 24." And they went, well, "Okay, well, we'll go with it, but 15 is the budget." Okay. So we ended up presenting a kitchen for 35.
Right.
And they purchased. And then further down the line, we added bits and pieces on. And what's the final figure now?
About 46.
46.
46,000.
So somebody coming in with a rigid £15,000 budget, although you might think we can't cater to all of their needs, by the time you've educated them a little bit and spent time with them and they realise the value for money, all of a sudden spending £45,000.
So two things: never judge a book by its cover, and expect the unexpected.
Absolutely.
Here.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Great. So Joe, Luke, Eve, Amanda, thank you very much today. Thank you.
Very
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for watching this edition of Movers and Shakers. If you've liked what you've seen, you can press the subscribe button. If you'd like to get notifications of future episodes, hit the bell icon. And if you'd like to press like and leave a comment, we love your comments. Thank you.